Hi, you've just released on vinyl The Story of Light. Tell me, what's the difference between this material and the digital album from your point of view as a listener?
Oh, are you referring to the vinyl?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah. I grew up on vinyl, and there is a certain way that the frequencies of vinyl are reproduced. And if I was to try to put it into words, I would say there's like a warmth, like a fuzziness, sort of like your scarf. It's just kind of like comfortable. It's like laying down in a nice bed. Digital is cleaner. There's less of a little noise or distortion, but it can be a little colder, a little edgier. It's like an icicle compared to a flame. So most people now are just used to hearing digital music because it's just become our culture. But when you have grown up listening to analog music and then you become more of a digital listener, when you go back and listen to analog, you definitely you can feel it. You feel the difference even more than it's easier to put into words. It's just like an awareness, like a comfort zone. But most times these days, because there's a whole new crave, a whole new revolution of vinyl.
Yes, yes.
Yes, the way that you make that vinyl is very important. Because what a lot of people do, a lot of record companies is they just take the digital masters,
Yes.
even they just take the CDs, which is a disaster, and they just put it on vinyl and they think that that's going to capture that vinyl sound. It doesn't. It only makes things much worse because you're taking an already digitized sound that was converted through converters that are very old now, which even disintegrate the sound more,
Yes.
and then you're putting it onto vinyl, which is a very delicate process. So what I did with The Story of Light, because I understand the process,
Yes.
I mixed the record to digital for the CD,
Yes.
but I also mixed it to analog tape through all analog gear to big fat half-inch tape. And then I took that to get mastered, and there was no digital involved. It went right from the tape, excuse me, to the vinyl lathe, that they carve it in.
Yes, yes.
And I had the best, person in the world do it, Bernie Grumman, and we did it at, most vinyl albums run at 33.
Yes,
It's
yes, yes.
33 RPMs. The Story of Light runs at 45, so that there's more frequency space. So that's why I did it.
What is the last album or record you've bought?
The Velvet Underground. I bought this box set that had everything they ever did.
And speaking about albums, Satriani just released his album. Have you had time to listen to it?
Oh, I heard it before most other people.
Oh.
Yeah, because he's my friend, and we,
Yes.
send it. Yeah, at first I sometimes I don't know what to expect, which is always nice.
Yes.
But it's very solid. It's very much Joe. Joe Satriani. He created a genre. He's an original, and he works within that genre, and he does it very well. And this record, I think, is more close to the heart of his personalized genre than I've heard, And it always has his musical sensibility and ears, so it's always got that special thing,
In the booklet of Story of Light, you describe the thoughts and the journey of a madman who is seeking his version of life. Have you had an interaction with people who have mental problems or have disorders?
Well, sure. we all have mental disorders. We're all a little insane, you know. Yes, but it's very rare that you come across somebody that would have the situations in life that the person that I'm depicting this after. You know, sometimes in order to evolve your awareness or your consciousness, so to speak, you don't evolve your consciousness, your awareness. Sometimes people suffer, and artists suffer a lot too, you know, sometimes, because reaching that creative zone and being so personal and expressing your personal feelings and having the world see those and criticize them is very difficult for an artist when their identity is based in their ego. You know, when their identity is entirely their work, then when it's criticized, they feel like they're being criticized. You know, in this story, though, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with a person that that ended up doing things that created such intense personal suffering that they had no choice. He had no choice but to eventually stop thinking and find that deeper inner kind of space to find peace.
Do you have any idea what will the madman do in the third part of the trilogy?
In the third part, he finds himself. Yeah, he finds himself.
Have you started working on the third part?
I have sketches and I have ideas, you know, how I want to basically have it roll out, but I'm going to wait to do it. Because the music from The Story of Light and Real Illusions is a certain approach. Yes. You know, I don't really jam that stuff out, or I build it, you know, and it's very laborious, it's very time consuming and intense. Yes. So I think I'm going to do some other projects, other ideas.
And then start with...
Yeah, and it's a lifelong project. So
you are going to teach some students here during a master class. You said besides the technical methods, you will also have some discussions with them. Now, what are the major points you want to approach during the sessions?
Well, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I've discovered and learned from being a professional musician and an independent musician through my life. And some of them have nothing to do with how you play, you know. And I talk about that. I talk about as much as I can. I do talk about certain techniques. A lot of people, a lot of guitar players want to know the simple things like stretching notes and techniques. I discuss that, but I talk more about the esoteric principles of being a guitar player. And the most important thing that I have discovered in being an independent musician, and basically being anything in life, is how you choose to think. The thoughts that you choose to think have 100% to do with how your career evolves, how you get in touch with your art, your craft. But sometimes we're trapped in certain ways of thinking, and we can't get out. So these are the things I talk about. You see, they're a little esoteric, but to me they're the really important issues. And all the other stuff you can get in many, many, many places.
What do you think are the most difficult parts for an artist to overcome when he wants to make a solo instrumentist career? Because in a band, maybe sometimes it's easier than being solo?
I don't think so. I think it's individualistic. Yes. You know, I think it's different for different people. Some people prefer to be in a band, and some people prefer to be solo, and it's both fine. The thing that I find that is the biggest challenge, it's not necessarily getting a record deal. It's not necessarily finding the right musicians or finding the money to do it. Those things are all easy, you know. I mean, if you can overcome the first big issue, and it's just the way you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's the most important issue, and that's the biggest challenge, and that's what I see so obviously, because that's what I see in myself, you know, and that's what I work on. You know, I work on choosing how I'm going to think about something, because that's what confidence comes from too.
Yes.
You know.
Now, let's talk a bit about the tour. It starts on your birthday, 6th of June, and it ends with a concert in Bucharest. Tell us a bit about the show.
Well, it's a different kind of a show. I recently played here with my rock band, and it was very different. This is with the Romanian Evolution Tempo Orchestra, and it's about 55 people or so, and they're these young, enthusiastic, extremely talented people, and it's beautiful to work with people like that because they're so excited. And it's music from my catalog.
Yes.
I do various kinds of orchestrational music. Sometimes it's very out there, almost contemporary. We're not doing any of that, really. But what I'm doing in this tour is I'm taking songs from my catalog and orchestrating them.
Yes.
And there's some great songs. It's like, you know, the favorites that most people would be expecting. And then some new stuff. We're doing some stuff off of The Story of Light, a song called Racing the World, and Valorum. And then I just received this, I got this beautiful orchestration for Whispering a Prayer. And I orchestrated a piece of music called the Fire Garden Suite, which is this very intense, goes through all these changes, and it was always my hope to have it done with an orchestra. And it's really powerful and a great, different kind of an experience.
Let's talk about your children, because you've mentioned them, young adults. How is your relationship with them now?
Oh, well, it's fabulous. I mean, my youngest son, he's 21. His name is Fire, and he's going to college, you know. I talk to him all the time. And Julian is 24, and they're really just great kids, just amazing kids, you know. Everybody's kids are amazing, you know. But my relationship with them is, you know, you go through a period where you're the parent and you're raising kids, and you have to try to help them to figure out how to make the best decision. But then there comes a point where you got to let go, yes. And you have to let them. You can't live their life for them. You want to, because when you're a parent, there's a different kind of a love. You know, that's like, it's almost biological. You know, you love your child so much that you just don't want them to make the same mistakes that you made.
Yes.
But well, frankly, they're smarter than me, you know. But you can't tell them, you know. You have to let them. Like, for instance, there was a book yes. that came out, and it was a letter to myself, my younger self. I think that's the name of the book. And it's people, these kind of famous people. What would they write to their younger self, like their teenage or 12-year-old?
Yes.
And you can imagine what you want to say to yourself when, you know, as you're older, you see all these things that you went through and all these things you did, and you want to, and people write these big, long, you know, and then this, and don't worry about this, and you know, and they asked me to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave 3 words. You're doing fine.
Very nice.
That's it, because what can you tell?
Yes.
I wouldn't listen to myself. If an 80-year-old Steve Vai came in the room right now and said, you know that when this happens, don't do that, I'd be like, yeah, sure. You know?
What music do they listen?
Oh, man, they have such a rich palette for music, my God. My son Julian has always been into this very progressive, intense metal. You know, back when, you know, the bands like Linkin Park and all this stuff were coming out. So I would get to hear all this stuff because I'd take them to the concerts. But now he listens to like that, you know, that stuff that goes, you know. And some of it's kind of cool. Matter of fact, this one band he was listening to I kind of liked. It was called I Wrestled a Bear Once. And it's like extremely progressive and wild and crazy, you know. And I actually did a solo on their record because he became friends with the band. And then my son Fire is really into some of the techno stuff. He listens to everything. Fire listens to everything. I mean, he'll buy a soundtrack to a movie if he likes it, you know. But he's mostly into like the techno stuff, and he brings me stuff, you know. Like he brought me Skrillex.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I really liked it. I liked it a lot, you know. So that's the kind of stuff they listen to.
Yes. I'll end with honey and bees. Now, tell me, how did it started? And are you still making honey?
Yeah, I still have bees. They're in my backyard. You know, it's a very easy hobby, and it's very fulfilling because I started because we bought this property that was vacant for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So everything was dead, you know. My wife wanted to plant these gardens, and I wanted to put fruit trees and stuff like that. And I just did a little research, and I found out that honeybees are amazing pollinators. So, and it's very easy to get honeybees. You know, I just made a phone call to a local beekeeper, and he brought me a hive. And it's easy to study. It's not much you do. And it's a really wonderful hobby. And there's not much you need to do. I mean, you go in the hive, you check to make sure they're healthy. There's certain things you can do if you see them like collapsing or getting sick. And they're fascinating. When you study honeybees, they're just amazing creatures. I mean, they're social infrastructure, you know. But it's all nature, you know. So when I'm in with my bees, which is maybe once every few months, you know, yes, you just feel this connection with nature, you know. And it's becoming a very, very popular hobby. As a matter of fact, there's like a store that's very common. What's the name of it? I think it's like Whole Foods or something, you know, a very common store that you can go in and buy a bee kit. And you can get all the things you need, and you can import a queen. Ooh. Yeah, I have like some hives where I have Italian queens. Oh. And they're beautiful. They're golden brown, and they make tons of tomato sauce. No, I'm kidding. And, you know, once you get, you know, you go in the hive a lot, the bees, they get to know you. And the way that you keep the bees from stinging you, yes, you have to love them.
Thank you very much.